Hello, everybody. We're going to do another 5-minute sermon, and tonight we're going to look at fasting for Lent. And is that biblical? Since Ash Wednesday is coming up, a lot of people that I know participate in a Lenten type fast, which basically what a Lenten type fast is, it's going 40 days without something, whatever that thing may be. It may be chocolate, it may be TV, it may be some other item. And so what we're going to look at real quick is whether or not it's biblical. But in order to do that, first we need to understand what a true biblical fast is. And a true biblical fast, I wrote a definition down that I'm going to read to you. It just says, Christian fasting is the voluntary abstinence from food for spiritual purposes. Each time we see a fast in the Bible, it falls into this category. Now, there are several different types of fasting in the Bible. There's fasting for 40-day fast. Jesus Christ did a 40-day fast, which would be similar to the Lenten fast, but there are some marked differences. There's also fasts of not entirely of food, but just of certain types of food. But what we'll see each time it was voluntary. It's not something that was ordered or commanded. It also involves food, giving up food for either a period of time, maybe as little as a meal or a day or an extended period of time. The longest one in the Bible is 40 days. And it's for a spiritual purpose. So looking at that, there's a few things we can see about the Lenten fast that doesn't fall into that category. One, it's not a voluntary fast. It's something that's commanded by the church. Now you can say, okay, it's like an optional command. You don't have to do it, but in essence, you're supposed to do it. Just like receiving of the ashes. The Catholic Church tells you you're supposed to do that as well. The word Lent or a Lenten fast is, never appears in the Bible. There's not an example of it. There's not a command for it in the Bible. It is something that was created by man about the 3rd century, about the same time the Catholic Church was created, is about when the Lenten fast started. Now, there are some examples in the 1st century, or actually 2nd century, of some letters that were written that talked about a fast around the time of Easter, but most of those were 1 or 2 day fasts. They weren't the 40-day, or actually 46 days, I think, is the Lenten fast, because you take off on Sunday, so it's like a fast, but it doesn't count. It's 40 days, but it doesn't count Sundays. Anyways, along those lines. So I didn't start my timer, so I have no idea whether or not this could be a 5-minute sermon or not. This should be interesting. So real quick, let's just continue to move on with that. So a true fast is a fast from food. True fast is for voluntary purposes, and it's for a spiritual purpose. There's a spiritual purpose to that. So there's a lot of fasting out there that takes place. It's not necessarily bad, and a Lenten fast isn't necessarily bad. It's just not biblical. It usually focuses on giving up things as opposed to giving up food. I participate in other types of fasting myself. So my wife and I have fasted from TV for a period of time. We fasted from other things, but understand those can be beneficial, but they're not biblical. They may help you, and in a way they kind of can be a little biblical, but they're not really, because they do take out some of the distractions that may distract you away from God, but they're not a true biblical fast. So the other thing I want to look at is that it's done for a spiritual purpose, not a physical purpose. So even if you're giving up food, but you're doing it for a physical purpose, to lose weight or for something else, it's not a biblical fast because your purpose isn't right. Now, I say a Lenten fast isn't necessarily bad. Where it becomes bad is when it becomes a sacrament or a way of achieving God's grace. And that what most of the sacraments, all the sacraments, but the definition of sacrament is that it's a way of achieving grace. And we have to understand there's no way that we can earn grace. There's no way that we can twist God's arm and force him to give us grace. Grace, by its very definition, is something that's given to us without any strings attached to it. If we have to do something to get grace, then grace becomes a work, or it becomes a combination of grace and works. And Romans 11:6 tells us that when we combine works with grace, grace ceases to exist. So the very principle of a sacrament to achieve God's grace somehow is flawed in that. Like I said, I didn't start my timer at the beginning of this. I have no idea how long I've been talking. I have a tendency of talking way too long, although I feel like this is way under 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and stop it right here. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. Also, look for it on YouTube. I'm putting the other 5-minute sermons on YouTube as well. Just search my name, Jay McCaig, and I'll pop up and get to see my smiling face on YouTube. And thank you all for taking the time to stop by, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts about what you'd like to see in other 5-minute sermons. God bless. Have a wonderful day. Be good.